Sunday after he was found unresponsive in his Fulton County jail cell after spending 5 months there. Delmore is the 10th person this year to die in custody of the Fulton County Sheriff's Office. That does it for our show. To see our podcasts, video and audio podcasts, or sign up for our news, go to democracynow.org. I'm Amy Goodman. Thanks for joining us.
The sun's shining, birds are singing, and all feels right in the world.
Until the season changes and suddenly everything seems darker, less lively, and you lose your motivation to get out of bed.
If you struggle with depression, you're not alone. In fact, 1 in 5 people experience some form of depression, and no matter the time of year, it may affect your behavioral or physical ability to live a happy life.
At the American Psychiatric Association Foundation, we understand what you're going through, and we're here to help. Our vision is to build a mentally healthy nation for all, because we want you to live your best life and be your best you all year round. We work every day to eliminate stigma, combat mental illness and substance use disorders, and advance mental wellness.
If you or someone you love needs help, you are not alone. Please visit mentallyhealthynation.org to learn more.
91.3 FM WBNY is proud to present Democracy Now! With Amy Goodman.
Welcome to Democracy Now!
Award-winning investigative journalism.
Is the NRA imploding?
Providing relevant analysis that makes you think.
Secret State Department documents, including evidence of U.S. war crimes.
Fact-finding reports you will not hear elsewhere. Democracy Now! Airs Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. on 91.3 FM WBNY Buffalo. Ready for radio that's challenging, innovative, and encouraging? Tune in, Living for the People.
This is L. Nathan Hare. Join me right here, 91.3 FM WBNY. Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays at 9 a.m. after Amy Goodman's Democracy Now! We'll provide objective analysis regarding current issues. Call 878-5104. It's Living for the People on 91.3 FM WBNY.
WBNY Buffalo.
The views expressed on the following program are not necessarily those of 91.3 FM WBNY, the United Students Government at Buffalo State, or Buffalo State itself. Due to the opinionated nature of these programs, listener discretion is highly advised. If you have any questions or comments about today's program, you can give us a call at 716-878-5104.
To join Mr. Hare on today's Living for the People, dial 878-5104. That's 716-878-5104. Or go to facebook.com/91.3 WBNY and comment there. That's facebook.com/91.3 WBNY. Courtesy.
All right. Welcome to Living for the People. This is L. Nathan Hare. Welcome to our broadcast, focused on providing insight into events shaping our national and regional world and the facts behind those events and policies that are shaping our world for today and for tomorrow. Join us weekly on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. following Amy Goodman's Democracy Now! Program. And of course, you know our program is live, so you can call and you can join our discussion. We really hope that you will. Our number here again is 716-878-5104. That's 716-878-5104. You know, I always have to mention, this warm feeling comes over me whenever I hear that intro by James Brown, who was had been our producer for the program for such a long period of time. Yeah. And of course, Willie H. has taken over for him since that spot, or since that time. But it just feels warm to hear his voice. You know, coming back. It's almost soothing.
That was my brother from another mother, James Braun. Yep. James Braun was a big blessing in my life. From Adelphia, Time Warner, cable. He kind of took me on as his little black brother, make sure nobody, He taught me a lot of stuff. So
James would not have said you were his little black brother. He would have just said you were his brother.
Right.
You put that adjective in there.
Well, I just want people to know. I know the difference. I know. For him to do that is awesome.
It's all good. I'm picking at you because Norm asked me to. So we're here with Norm MacArthur, who is our in-studio audience of one. Welcome back, Norm.
Good morning, Mr. Hare. How you doing, sir?
We're going to be talking about your boy. Your main guy. The man on the scene with the gangster lean who does the camel walk.
Yeah.
He does the camel walk.
Oh, y'all don't remember that. That's from the 1950s, the camel walk.
That was my dad's dance.
Matter of fact,
that was your dad's dance.
Yeah. As a DJ, I used to cut that one, the camel walk.
There you go. Yeah, my mother taught me how to do the camel walk.
Camel walk. We got to see you do that one day.
No, we're not seeing it.
I got to tape it. I got to videotape that one.
We don't do replays. We're done with that.
Hey, Mr. Hare, we keep everything in studio.
Yep, this gonna stay in studio too, but not where you could see it or hear it. And of course, you all have heard from Willie H., who is our IT person. He's the one who makes it possible for us to do the live streaming of the program. Welcome again, Willie.
Welcome, everybody, to Living for the People with L. Nathan Hare. I want you guys to call in 716-878-5104. Matter of fact, I didn't put TikTok, but I'm going to put TikTok. Last time you got like 250 viewers on TikTok when I did it Wednesday, so I think I'm going to put that on again.
Let's keep them in the loop, as much as we can.
And add 2 comments. I couldn't see it because I was over here.
They didn't swear, did they?
I don't know. I didn't see it. But it was 2 comments.
We have to be careful with our language when we're on the radio. The radio guardians get real upset about that stuff, right? Yeah. So I wanted to go through a little bit on sort of an update on what's happening with, Norm's cousin. I don't know why Norm keeps trying to say that he doesn't know this man. We all know that he knows him.
Yeah. We found out. Right. He actually was talking
Donald John Trump. You shook hands with him.
Trump actually gave him some money, not as much as he wanted.
Right. Y'all were doing body bumps, Well, I went to an article today by Ewan Palmer. He was writing for Newsweek, and he reported that Trump this week has suffered 5 different setbacks.
Wow.
And I want to put this into a context before we get done. Those setbacks and how Trump is responding to those setbacks, in my mind, is setting Trump up for getting put in jail for something other than being convicted of any of the 91 felonies that he's been charged with.
Okay.
He's going to end up spending some time in jail for contempt of court.
Okay.
Because there's only so far a judge can go with putting up with you just treating the judge contemptuously and refusing to obey even the most basic decorum structures that are given by the court. There's only so far the judge can go before the judge has to call you on it.
Yeah.
Trump has gone so far as to call Judge Tanya Chutkan a racist, that she was some kind of a monster, who hated him and, was out to get him. Why in the world would Judge Tanya Chutkan care about getting or not getting Donald Trump? He's not on her beat. She has no equity, in a struggle, with him. This is just Donald Trump trying to poison the prosecutorial water by getting his fan base, the Trump, the so-called base, to get his fan base all geeked up at her. Yeah, that woman, that black woman. How did she get to be a judge in the first place? I bet it was affirmative action that got her to be a judge in the first place. It's rallying around those kinds of sentiments and then getting people to become responsive to that rallying. When people start to get all angst up, angst, I mean A-N-G-S-T, that kind of angst up. When they get angst up like that, sometimes it provokes them to act out their angst. And they wind up not just throwing a brick at a window, although sometimes that's what they do on the low end, but they may go so far as actually bringing a gun to some place and trying to shoot a place up. That's the consequence of allowing Trump to get away with the kinds of provocative, provoking statements that Trump continues to make. But let me go through some of these sort of legal setbacks that Trump is facing right now. First, you all know the case with how do you say her name? E. Jean Carroll, where she has a lawsuit that she filed against Trump because I don't know, Willie, can I say that he raped her or only accused? She's alleged to have raped her because we don't have a video of the rape, right? We don't get videos of rape anymore? We don't get that kind of justice? Because I know in order for you to get Donald Trump convicted, you have to have a video.
Got to be a video.
Right? With notations, from, somebody from a federal court. Well, anyway, Trump has a $250 million civil suit against him by Attorney General Letitia James, as well as this defamation suit in New York City, in which E. Jean Carroll accuses Trump of raping her. That accusation was proven in a previous trial. Trump was determined to be guilty, but because it was a civil trial, not a criminal trial, Trump didn't face any a jail kind of sanction. But of course, he's appealing the case. Once the decision was rendered by the court that Trump was guilty of raping this woman, E. Jean Carroll, Trump came out the next day and called her a whack job, and disparaged the woman again, right? So the woman went back to the court and she amended her lawsuit to say, and he defamed me again, right? And the judge heard that case. And the judge said, well, not only are we okay with confirming that he defamed this woman, she doesn't even have to go through another trial on that second area of defamation. They just have to have a trial on how much money to award the woman in the case against Donald Trump. Now, the reason why this is something to talk about is because we know that Donald Trump's his MO is to delay cases for as long as possible. So if he can say, well, you put that on green paper, that should have been on white paper. Now we have to have a trial on what color paper, you printed something on. And then he'll find some other procedural thing and we'll have to have a motion on that, then a trial on that thing, and he does. I think that, in my view, E. Jean Carroll is a fairly elderly woman. She's got to be in her, I think in her mid 70s, that Trump's game plan is to spread this case out, to make it take so long that she actually dies of old age before. Seriously, I know this sounds terrible. I know it sounds terrible.
I'm sorry, Mr.
I knew you were going to react like that. See, now you try to behave like a citizen now.
Hey, Mr. Either she dies or he dies. One or the other.
Well, he doesn't think he's going to die. He thinks he's got some kind of jet juice. But my gut feeling is that his thought process is, well, I couldn't beat her in the regular case, but that doesn't mean she's going to win. She don't win until she gets the money in her hand.
She won't get paid.
And if I can keep the money from getting into her hand until she's actually at her funeral, maybe somebody else gets the money, but she won't get the money.
Mr. Let me ask you just about this case. How long does this go back? When he did rape.
This was in the 1990s, like 1994 or something,
yeah.
right?
Okay, all right.
Yeah, this is an old case.
Yeah.
But what occurred is we had laws change in the United States since the 1990s, where under certain circumstances you don't get bound by the statute of limitations on when a case can be brought. So in this circumstance, she was allowed to be able to bring the case, even though it was what would be beyond the normal statute of limitations. Normally, you got 3 years or 7 years, something like that, for you to bring a case against somebody.
Yeah.
But the way American law is set up, in the Me Too movement and so on, you had so many people that had actually been molested or assaulted over the course of the last several dozen decades that never got a chance to bring their case to court because the police officer they brought the case to said, "Oh, honey, he didn't really rape you, did he? Honey, didn't you have a smile on your face when he was doing you?" You had that kind of systemic bias against women.
Yeah.
And so because of that, laws were changed to allow women the ability to be able to go back decades and reclaim offenses, sexual offenses that were perpetrated against them.
Well, one, just real quick comment. One thing I will say is the change of this of the way that things go now and the way that they are is a great thing because there's been so many women over the years that have been taken advantage of and raped and all kinds of different stuff. And it was just due to the way that society was back then. Everything leaned towards the man.
And things don't change quickly.
Mm-hmm.
In the Army, you have a very rigorous structure.
Yeah.
You would think that once a change is ordered in the Army, it would get reflected all the way down to the lowest ranks within a matter of months. People would just adopt that behavior because that's the order that you're being given in the Army.
Right.
Yet we find cases today, where a woman 3 or 4 years ago who was an officer, a sergeant, right, in the armed services, she was raped. She reported it to her commandant, who gave her the muffle mouth, was it really rape? Didn't you know her?
Yeah.
Didn't you all date? Whatever the explanation was. And she was not supported. And then she has to go back and work in the same unit with the person who raped her.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So she ended up leaving the armed services, even though she was a really top quality officer. She ended up leaving the armed services because she just couldn't handle having to work in the presence of people. I don't know if I can say this. Willie would know if I can say this correctly. I'm just going to say it anyway. Have to work in the presence of somebody who peed on her.
Yeah,
I know that sounds despicable,
really,
right?
Really, really crazy.
But that's how it comes across to me, right?
Well,
and I mean, that's the kind of thing that somebody like me may not go to court. You may not get a chance to. You may not get a chance to go to court.
No, yeah, Mister, I got you there.
So, I mean, it is so unconscionable that you would do something like that to somebody. He did this to this woman in a department store in a dressing room.
Yeah.
While the store is open, people all over the place, shopping, and you would do. I mean, what's in your mind that could make you do something like that?
It's almost like, like I said, I was in the military, and there's a hierarchy. And I'm not even talking about the
military hierarchy.
Yeah,
right.
I'm talking about men and women and the way that it's structured. And I'm not going to say in all cases because it depends on who you got at, your first sergeant, your captains, your upper rank.
Right.
But there's certain things that you just should not tolerate from the beginning, and you have to.
And you hit the nail on the head. It's the officer leadership at every level that has to own the responsibility for creating the right atmosphere, the right decorum.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes,
the right responsiveness.
Yes, sir.
Right? So if you're the sergeant over a platoon and somebody in the platoon assaults another person in the platoon, you got to jump on that right away.
Right away,
okay?
Sir. Yeah.
You got to correct that right away.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't, you should fall.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean,
because it's not good leadership if you don't.
This should not be tolerated.
Yeah.
So we got those two cases, right? Those are the first setbacks. Now we got the Mar-a-Lago IT worker cooperation deal. It was revealed this week that an IT Mar-a-Lago worker reached a deal with investigators. He had previously retracted a false statement that he was unaware of any attempts by Trump to delete security footage. This is the stuff that kills me. When people lie and the truth that you lied is knowable because there's a record of it, why would you lie? If you know there's an actual physical record that you did something, why would you bother to lie? So he was questioned on whether or not there was any attempt to manipulate, erase, or to lose video footage at Mar-a-Lago that would show that somebody had moved or attempted to move records from the room that the records had been placed in, had moved the records someplace else. There's a video because there's a camera on that spot. So you could see it when somebody moves a box, you could see it.
It's got to be the craziest thing. I mean, how wouldn't that, why wouldn't you just, I'm with you, wouldn't you just say, yeah? I mean, it has happened.
I become convinced that there's a store someplace, a manufacturing store someplace that manufactures stupidity. And I think that they've got a really going business selling stupidity to certain people.
Let me pose this, Mr. Hare. Maybe Trump and some of his cronies paid this guy, or I mean, this is the only thing I can see because
whose interests are served if the Justice Department comes to your spot and they say, "Give me the camera, give me the video from this that was taken by this camera from this time on this day to this time on this day." Right. That's what they asked for.
Right.
Then you give them the video minus the pieces that show you stealing or moving the boxes someplace else. You give them that video, and then they say, "I know you have a video of this because we have testimony from other people that have seen the video.
Right.
We know that you have it. Where's the video?" Right? And then you try to, claim that you don't know anything about it. Well, that's what happened in this guy's case, because he's trying to, whose interest is served? He's not doing it to help himself.
Yeah.
He's probably making $30,000, $40,000 a year, as a maintenance supervisor, right?
So you know the deal, but he should get prosecuted for just being stupid.
There should be a jail consequence for being that stupid.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
Right. And so this guy's name is Yuscil Tavares. He had previously reported had previously reported to have flipped on Trump after receiving a new attorney. Trump originally, or Yuscil Tavares originally had an attorney that was given to him by Donald Trump. Obviously, that attorney has divided interest. He's supposed to have the interest, in fact, by law, he's supposed to have Yuscil Tavares' interest as the number one only interest that he is concerned about if he's Yuscil's lawyer. His only concern should be Yuscil's best interest. But the lawyer is being paid by Donald Trump or one of Donald Trump's, organizations.
Right.
So who do you think this lawyer is responsive to? The guy who's not paying him any money at all, who is a low person, on the totem pole,
or Trump,
who has no juice whatsoever, or Donald Trump, who's the king of the empire, right?
Of course.
Who do you think his loyalties are tied to? Obviously, they're tied to Donald Trump,
right?
So Yuscil, apparently now that he has a public defender, so whenever you hear people dogging public defenders, give them this case. Yuscil got a public defender, just a guy that the court appointed. That guy came in and looked at the case, and he said, "What are you doing?" He says, "What do you mean?" "Yeah, I'm trying to help out Donnie." He said, "Donnie got nothing to do with this. Unless you intend to go to jail for 5 years minimum for felony a theft of a document that belongs to the federal government, you need to come clean with this thing right now and tell them that you did it, that you lied about it, why you did it, why you lied about it. Tell them everything. Make stuff up and add stuff to it, right? Don't miss your opportunity, because you could go to jail for at least 5 years." When Yuscil said 5 years, yeah. See how I stuttered? When I'm being ugly, I said, "Did I stutter?" When I don't stutter, then you know good and well I'm telling you right from the horse's mouth, right? And so Lucille said, well, listen, I don't want to go to jail, so what do you need to know?
You know that's right.
And so they've given the story. So now Lucille Taveras will not face perjury charges for providing false information in return for his cooperation now with the Justice Department.
Hey, Mr. Hare, can I pause? I want to interject. When I overheard you talking about military and Norm was talking about the military hierarchy, that was a good point, and I'm pausing because where I work at Trace Asset, I work for a security office company,
right?
And they have security all over Buffalo, New York. So the hierarchy is owned by a wife and a husband. Now, the females, we got a lot of female security officers.
Right.
You cannot approach them. You got to always, and I do mean always, I don't care if you're a supervisor, approach them with respect and professionalism, because if you don't, you say anything, I do mean anything to them, and those women go back to the owner, you out.
Now you're talking,
and that's
about
the hierarchy,
right? You're talking about other employees talking to female employees, right?
You got to come correct. Many supervisors have gotten in trouble because they were
what I'm suggesting, beyond the point that we're talking about in today's discussion, but in a more global sense, what I'm suggesting is that we have to become much more aggressive in making it a part of our common culture.
Right.
That you just don't talk to women that way.
Right, absolutely.
Period. And that just doesn't come up.
And the owner of this company is making sure these women are treated with the utmost respect.
And that issue about, well, I could talk to a man like that, I don't know whether you should talk to a man like that or not.
Everybody should have respect.
I know that men don't have the same kind of sensitivity about you talking, smart aleck, to them.
We'll laugh or whatever.
Right. But
even if a woman flirt with us, we kind of, we're
you don't have the right to put somebody to put somebody in a corner.
Right.
We've talked about that before, Norm.
Yeah.
If you put a man in a corner where he has no way to go but straight back at you,
he coming out.
That's a bad day for you.
That is a bad day.
That's a bad day for you.
Most men, yeah.
And in fact, you should not go to court and sue for damages because you caused it.
Right.
You cannot put a man in a corner.
Right.
Yeah.
Period. You have to show him a way out. If he don't know the way out, you need to show him.
Right.
Here's the route out of this corner.
Yeah.
But you can't put him in a corner where he's boxed in.
Right.
Because a man's nature won't let him stay in that corner.
Right.
He will fight you to come out, and he will fight you like his life depends on it.
And it doesn't matter if he thinks he's going to win or not. It's just his nature is to.
Now, can I say something to you that's even also true?
Go ahead.
You can't put a woman in the corner.
That's correct.
A woman will come at you like some kind of blazing saddle, blazes,
kids,
razors, all kind of stuff will be coming, out of her at you.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because it's not in the nature of a sentient human being to be trapped.
Right.
If you trap them, they will try to find a way out of that trap, and they're going to go whatever the straightest way is to leave where I am to where I think freedom is. I'm not going around the corner. I'm not climbing over something. I'm not going through a whole lot of gymnastics. I'm coming right for wherever I see freedom.
Right.
And if you're in between me and freedom, I'm coming through you. Right.
Yeah.
This is something that we have to teach constantly in our culture to each other, so that it becomes our way.
Right.
That way, this stuff will disappear.
Right.
If we don't do it, it becomes the same Heckle and Jekyll culture that we have going on, right now.
Go ahead, Norm.
Well, I would just like to add real quickly that our leadership has to be of the highest integrity. If it's not, and our leadership allows certain things to happen, then as is going on today, we're setting precedents for all kinds of new things to happen and things that shouldn't happen within our own democracy. Yep. And I'm just saying, even within the work system in general, we were talking about military and that, but I mean, in general, there has to be an integrity at the highest levels.
So what we got going on now with Ucille's reversal of his testimony is now, what was his name? The valet for Donald Trump. Now he's going to be put on the hook, because if Ucille says, yeah, we did have the tape. Yeah, I did, move the boxes, that showed you that I did have, there was a tape, and so on. If Ucille is saying that, then that's going to put the valet in that same box.
Yeah.
He's going to have to turn state's evidence too, right?
Man, everybody, and it all boils back to what you've always taught us. Everything comes down to your own
self-interest is the only thing that you can count on.
And this is your dad's.
You can't count on people's honesty.
Yeah.
You can't count on people's fear. You can't count on people's culture. You can't count on anything more than one thing that always can be relied on. It will always reveal itself. And that is self-interest. Everybody always does what they think is in their own self-interest.
That's very important, Mr. Hare. I never really realized that before we really got into it. But it's definitely the truth.
This is an underlying principle of the world. Listen, I hear that music, so that means that Willie is trying to signal me that I've taken too long on this segment. So let's take a quick break and talk to our sponsors. Don't go away, but we'll see you on the other side of the break here at Living for the People at 91.3 FM WBNY.
FM WBNY is proud to present Democracy Now! With Amy Goodman.
Welcome to Democracy Now!
Award-winning investigative journalism.
Is the NRA imploding?
Providing relevant analysis that makes you think.
Secret State Department documents, including evidence of U.S. war crimes.
Fact-finding reports you will not hear elsewhere. Democracy Now! Airs Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. on 91.3 FM, WBNY, Buffalo.
The sun's shining, birds are singing, and all feels right in the world.
Until the season changes and suddenly everything seems darker, less lively, and you lose your motivation to get out of bed.
If you struggle with depression, you're not alone. In fact, 1 in 5 people experience some form of depression, and no matter the time of year, it may affect your behavioral or physical ability to live a happy life.
At the American Psychiatric Association Foundation, we understand what you're going through, and we're here to help. Our vision is to build a mentally healthy nation for all, because we want you to live your best life and be your best you all year round. We work every day to eliminate stigma, combat mental illness and substance use disorders, and advance mental wellness.
If you or someone you love needs help, you are not alone. Please visit mentallyhealthynation.org to learn more.
Ready for radio that's challenging, innovative, and encouraging? Tune in, Living for the People.
This is L. Nathan Hare. Join me right here, 91.3 FM WBNY. Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays at 9 a.m. after Amy Goodman's Democracy Now! We'll provide objective analysis regarding current issues. Call 878-5104. It's Living for the People on 91.3 FM WBNY. All right, welcome back to Living for the People. This is L. Nathan here, your host. We're here with Norm McCarthy, who's our in-studio audience of one. Welcome back, Norm.
Thank you, Mr. Hare.
And we're also here with Willie H., who does the live streaming of the program. Welcome, Willie.
Back, everybody, to Living for the People with L. Nathan Hare. Call in 716-878-5104.
Right, give us your thoughts about what we're talking about. In there's a Letitia James, New York Attorney General Letitia James is suing Donald Trump and his children and his real estate business for $250 million. Now, I'm not sure, Trump keeps claiming that he's a billionaire and he's got lots of assets, but I'm not sure he has a lot of money. Having a lot of assets is not the same thing as having a lot of money. You can have a lot of houses, but you can't eat the house. You got to convert the house into money before you can eat. So Trump is under, I think, significant cash pressure. The lawsuit from the New York Attorney General's office claims that Trump's company, the Trump Organization, inflated or undervalued the value of a number of the former president's assets and properties to obtain benefits such as better bank loans and reduced tax bills between 2011 and 2021. A civil trial to hear the fraud allegations will begin on October 2nd of this year. Even the Trump had been trying to get this trial pushed back, but the judge set aside Trump's arguments. That was Judge Arthur Engoron. He ruled that the arguments for delaying the civil trial were completely without merit. That's what the judge's words were. He said the argument was completely without merit. You need to know that when you mount motions for a change in a venue or a change in the process of a trial, or to suppress something or to add something, whatever, when you mount motions to a judge, if your motions are spurious, they're silly, the judge winds up becoming poisoned in his own mind about your whole case.
Right.
Not just about that motion, but about you. You know, where you come, why you bringing nonsense to me, and why are you wasting my time? And I think that's what the risk is that Trump is facing with this Judge Arthur Engoron, who's the one who will hear the case, the $250 million case that Letitia James has filed, against him. Go ahead.
Mr. Hare, I just like to add a comment real quick. This is, and I wouldn't say it's definitely not in the same context, but, O.J. Simpson, when they went after him, they couldn't get him. They didn't get him in court, but when they got him, they hit him in the pocket. Mm-hmm. They hit him with civil suits, and the civil suit right there that weekend. Because
remember, in a civil suit, you don't have to prove beyond reasonable doubt. Mm-hmm. In a civil suit, you only have to prove a preponderance of evidence.
Yeah.
So if we have evidence that, well, I talked to OJ over on the corner of such and such and such street, 2 blocks away from his house, and then somebody else says, yeah, and I talked to him about 8 minutes later on another street 2 blocks away from his house, and then somebody else says, well, I didn't talk to him, but I saw a guy that looked an awful lot like O.J. Simpson, going out of the or going into the house, between those two other events, that's a preponderance of evidence, yes, right? It's not absolute proof, but it's a preponderance of evidence. That's what's going on here, right? And so most of you judged O.J. Simpson based on a preponderance of evidence. I didn't. I judged the police department for all of the misconduct that was engaged in terms of faking.
Oh my God!
Faking evidence and so on.
That was
right?
crazy.
That was unnecessary.
Yeah.
Let me ask this question: do you think O.J. was 100% guilty?
No, I think O.J. did it. Don't get me wrong. I think he did it.
But
I just think that the reason why he was acquitted was because there was so much prosecutorial and police misconduct.
Crazy.
Right?
And what was that guy's name? The officer, the detective, or whatever he was, that he hated OJ.
Right. I don't remember his name, but yeah. But the point is that if you are the prosecutor and you cheat, and the defense can prove that you cheated even once, that you cheated, then the jury is entitled to set aside everything that you said. Everything, stuff that's not even relevant to what you cheated about. They get to impeach everything you said as being untrustworthy.
Exactly.
Because you've proven that you don't have the ability to maintain the trust of the citizens of this country.
That's right.
Right.
Yeah.
So this will play itself out in this case with Donald Trump as well. Even with the former president's legal team's attempts to delay the proceedings, Engoron last year said that he is determined that the civil trial will begin October 2nd as scheduled. I speak to this because it speaks to where I think Judge Tanya Chutkin is coming from.
Mm-hmm.
Her position is, I really don't care how many people, are going to be up to bat, for this trial. Whether it's going to be 19, 18, 3, I don't care. We're starting this trial when I say we're going to start this trial. Period.
You know what? Oh, I'm sorry. One other thing. This goes directly to Trump's personal self-interest. Like you say, this is hitting him directly in the pocket, and this is what right here, this can really hurt Trump.
Look at all these cases during Trump's presidency and following the end of his presidency in 2021. But these were cases that began in 2019, where they were trying to get records from different executive administrations under Donald Trump. And Donald Trump refused to allow his cabinet officers, his department heads, to testify at all. Mm-hmm. Now, you work for the United States. The board of directors of the United States government is the Senate and the House of Representatives. Mm-hmm. You work for them. How can you tell them that you're not going to provide them with the reports that are being paid for by them? They're your bosses, right? Yet Trump told them, I don't care what they say. I'm your boss, not them. And if I say you can't testify, you can't testify.
That's the mentality of the man.
Right. And then he goes to court, and you get to a lower court. It takes you 85 years. Then you go to a second level court, another 43 years. You go through a third level court, maybe 26 years. This began in 2019. We have cases that have been dropped by the by the federal legislature because it was moot to continue with the case. So much time went by, and so many events had taken place that it wasn't even worth their while to ask these people to give their testimony again.
And Trump knows this, Mr. Hare. He's been doing this all his life.
Yep.
He knows how to work this system.
Yep.
He really does.
So that's what he's doing right now. So now we have another context. We talked about this a couple of times in the last week. The 14th Amendment. There are at least 2 states, and I believe there are another 5 states that have put themselves, put people on notice. One state is actually filed. One state is in the process of filing. 5 states are in the process of figuring out what they have to do to file a lawsuit against Donald Trump, saying that his name cannot appear on a ballot to be nominated as the president, as a nominee of a party to represent that party for the presidency of the United States of America.
Mm-hmm.
That his name cannot appear on the ballot.
I've been trying to get this out for the longest, Mr. Hare.
Here's what's interesting about this. Every single state could say the same thing. You could wind up with 50 lawsuits. Sooner or later, some court is going to say, yeah, that looks like insurrection to me. He can't appear on your ballot, your state's ballot. It's every individual state has to agree for Trump to be on the ballot in that state.
Oh my God! Well,
so you could have a situation where 23 states said, "Well, we love Donald Trump. He's on the ballot," and you could have 27 states that say, "We don't love Donald Trump. He's not on our ballot," and you'd be ineligible for the Electoral College votes for those states. I mean, that's how this thing is going to work. Is working itself out. So we've got this precipice that Donald Trump is on right now. Now, you know what he's going to do. He's going to go and sue every one of those states. And while he's suing, he'll still be eligible to be on the ballot, of those states.
Wow.
Now, that's what he thinks. That's what he thinks. What Nate Hare thinks is the Secretary of State of an individual state is the one who has the authority to determine whether or not your name gets to appear on the ballot for that state. If that's not a judicial the way I'm reading the 14th Amendment, that doesn't look like there's a judicial process there. It's something that's called self-governing, or self-executing. The 14th Amendment's clause or section 3 that clause is self-executing. If you are somebody who is engaged or has engaged in insurrection or in support of insurrection against the United States of America, after you had previously sworn an oath of loyalty to the Constitution of the United States, you can never hold a federal office anywhere, period. You are done as far as that's concerned. I'm not sure if the law says, I think the way I'm reading it correctly, you couldn't hold any public office at any level of government, but you absolutely could not hold any federal office of trust, period, right? Now, that's not going through a court. That's the Secretary of State for every state. They get to make that decision.
And that's called self-governed?
Self-executing.
Self-executing.
It's self-executing in the sense that the Secretary of State does not have to go to a judge to ask a judge whether his decision is A or B. The Secretary of State can simply decide, and that's the decision. Now, Trump can go to a court and try to get that decision overturned, but you're on shaky ground trying to get that decision overturned because you would have to prove in your lawsuit that no insurrection actually occurred or that you were not materially involved in the insurrection. Now, you're at the ellipse. You're telling people to fight like hell. You're telling people to march on the Capitol building. You tell people that if you don't fight, like your life depends on it, you're going to lose your country.
It's hard to prove.
I mean,
hard to prove.
How are you going to win that argument, in a court?
Yeah.
So that's what's up right now. Now you got two trials, Kenneth Chesebro and Sidney Powell, two lawyers, right? Kenneth Chesebro was working on behalf of Donald Trump, but he was also engaged, not just in his official duties, he was engaged in a campaign to recruit people to become fake electors of the Electoral College. Becoming fake electors, that we've talked about, every state has a certain number of electors to the Electoral College. Those electors are individual people who are the ones who cast the vote for your state for the president in that presidential election. If you have two slates of electors representing that both of them are the real electors for that state, that would then force a process to unfold, usually a trial to unfold, to determine who were the correct electors and who were not. If that occurred, then the certification of the election on January 6th would not have taken place. That would have given Donald Trump time to be able to find some other way to manipulate the electoral process so that he could stay president of the United States.
Shouldn't, this is just my thought process, but shouldn't there be, when you are the true electors, shouldn't they have like a code or something that can only be verified by maybe the next person next to them, or just a certain code that someone else has and they can verify it?
That would be a process if they were imitating the person. In other words, if Mike Johnson was
but they're sending fake electors, so all you got to show is that you got the real code.
Right, but the issue of having a code would only be if the system they were using was submitting two different people representing themselves to be the same person. But if each of them are representing themselves, so Mary Jones is saying she's an elector and Alice, Cunningham says she's an elector, the issue is whether or not you were an elector, not whether or not you are the person, but whether or not you are the elector.
I got you.
So there's a slate that are the Electoral College representatives for each party. So if your party wins the vote for your state, then those electors that you've already appointed to be your electors, they become the electors from your state to the Electoral College. What Trump was attempting to do was to create confusion. If Mike Pence is reading the Electoral College votes from, say, the state of Delaware, and let's say there were 8 electors from the state of Delaware. Right. And when he went to read the votes, there were 2 different slates, right? Now, whether one slate was valid and one slate was not, he knows there can't be 2, so one of these has to be false, but how does he determine which one is false? That has to go through a judicial process. You have to go to, well, who sent you these Electoral College people in the first place? Who certified them? What was the process they used? What's the valid test that they provide that says that these are the actual electors and so on, right?
I got you.
But that takes time.
And so basically, it didn't really make a difference. He's just sending people to throw off and make it take more time.
So what he's attempting to do was to create confusion, and then have the Congress. Hey, how you doing, Greg? Good to see you, man. And then he wanted to have the Congress, the House of Representatives, and the House of the Senate collectively vote to say that we have to send this election to the states because there's confusion. We don't know who the Electoral College representatives are, and since we can't determine that right now, we just think that we should just send the election back to the states.
Oh.
So then you would have a joint session of the, like in New York State, it would be a joint session of the state assembly and the state senate. They would come together and vote. So you had like 540 or so people would vote to determine who got the Electoral College votes for New York State. That would get done in every state. Well, but the way it gets done is the number of votes in the state legislature, in the Senate and the Assembly, they only count for who wins the state, but the state itself only gets 1 vote. So even though New York State may have 26 or 27 delegates, it only gets 1 vote in this state legislature election. So now you got 30 states that are led by Republican governors, right? Every one of them has a majority of Republicans in their state assembly and their state senate. So all of those 30 states are going to vote for the slate appointed by Donald Trump, or are going to vote for a slate appointed by Donald Trump. So you would wind up with those 30 small states that represent maybe 12% of the population of the country. They would wind up picking the president of the country over the other 88% of the people in this country.
Wow.
That's what Donald Trump was setting up.
Yeah.
That's what he's still trying to get done. He hasn't really let go. He's still gnawing on that bone right now, right? So those are the 5 trials that we see up right now. I wanted to share something with you. This is an article that I read. I'm going to pull this off my phone. This article was written by Dennis Aftergut and Frederick Barron. It was actually written on August 18th, but it was entitled, "Trump is going to leave judges with no choice but to hold him in contempt." And I just thought this was a thought process that we should hear.
Okay.
Despite this week's fireworks in Georgia, Jack Smith, the federal prosecutor of Donald Trump, let's see, he says, will almost certainly be the first Trump criminal case to trial and a landmark in U.S. history. Trump must fear facing the jury in that case for at least 2 excellent reasons. Reason number 1, if he is convicted, as seems likely, criminal penalties would be imposed by a proven tough on January 6th defendants type judge. Judge Tanya Chutkin, she's been the most tough on these January 6th defendants of all the judges that have been involved, right? So they're saying the likelihood is you're going to do some time. If you get convicted, you're going to do some time, even if you're Donald Trump.
Now, okay, so do you still feel that he's not going to do time?
Nate Hare does not believe Tanya Chutkin. I know she's your girl.
She's my girl, man. I'll claim this one.
I love her too, but I ain't buying it. Okay.
Okay.
I just don't see how you're going to put a president of the United States in the Fulton County Jail.
Why should he be any different than any man?
He shouldn't be, but the reality is,
he's the president.
How do you get it done?
He's not different.
Are you gonna
like we do?
Are you gonna imprison the Secret Service?
Right.
You got six Secret Service staff that are around him every single minute of every day.
You got the U.S. government behind.
Right.
You got everybody behind.
You're going to imprison his wife. You're going to bring whatever name is, Ivanka, whatever her name is, Stella. You're going to bring her, into the jail as well. That's not going to happen.
The worst case scenario that I see is that they're going to maybe be able to block him from being president and maybe put him in a nice, cushy area
and take some more money from him, cash in some of those houses.
So it's just going to be his pocket. That's it.
Right. Give me a couple of those golf courses.
That's the worst case.
Right.
Yeah.
See, because Donald Trump, he prides himself on what he owns.
Yeah.
It's not even what the amount of money he has. It's what he owns.
He owns a lot.
So that makes him a king. If you don't have any land, you're not the king.
When you ride through New York City, Manhattan, near the river, all you see is Trump, and more Trump.
Right? See, so that makes him king.
Right.
If you take away the land, he's not king. He's just somebody with something on paper.
Right.
But he's not king. So the second piece of this was there is potential for loss of enough political support to end Trump's vision of pardoning himself and commanding his Department of Justice to drop these prosecutions. So what this article is saying is that if Trump gets convicted of maybe 76 of the 91 felonies that he's been accused of, that would cause such a loss of face and loss of trust and loss of esteem by Trump's minions that he won't be able to win the presidency in the general election.
Right.
That's what they're saying. I think we got a caller that wants to give us a thought there. So as the New York Times reported on Wednesday, Trump also appears on course to collide directly with the D.C. judge Tanya Chutkan before the case even gets to trial. Trump's accelerating habit of condemning judges who hold him to account, making menacing statements about witnesses, and disseminating factual distortions, which we would all call lies, disseminating out-and-out lies to influence potential jurors, has him on the road to a judicial response of a kind that he's never experienced before. Did you have a caller that was...
yeah, we got a caller.
Let me grab that call real quick. Hi, caller, are you there?
I'm here.
Hey, hello, Kathy, how you doing?
Okay, this is your mother, your sister from...
You're my sister. You're my sister. We're not gonna worry about whose mom had you. We just know you're here.
I'm here, and I just really wanted to thank you for commemorating James this morning. I really appreciate it. I want to give a shout out to Norm, of course, Willie, you, and I hear that Greg may be in the house too.
He is. He just walked by. He just walked by a minute ago, right?
Okay. I'm very. Willie was talking a minute ago about, the best case scenario. And I do in my heart of hearts think that there's going to be a deal made where he won't run if he doesn't serve time. And that's, and I think there was, who was the Republican candidate who I think had to drop out when he said the only reason Donald Trump is running is not to go to the big house. And that was truth. That was the truth. And then the next day, I think, or a couple days after, he was out of there,
Right.
About, unfortunately. It would be interesting if you haven't discussed already about who's financing all of this, because apparently I think that should be investigated. He's using, I don't know if it's CPAC money or PAC money, but, it's pretty apparent that he's not even really having to, out of his own pocket, put these bills.
Khaki, this seems like a soft area of the law, because the PAC is supposed to be an entity that is not connected to Trump's campaign. It may operate on pursuing policies that Trump is interested in, but it can't be coordinated with Donald Trump. But if the PAC is taking its money, $40, $50 million of its money, and giving that to another one of Donald Trump's organizations, his defense, whatever his defense fund is.
Yeah.
And then he gets to use that money, essentially spend it for himself, for his own legal expenses. Yeah. Is that a legal use of his money? of that money, because that money is not his money. That money comes from the public, and you're telling the public, "I'm giving you this money to help you, run for office, or to pursue policies that I'm interested in." You give the money to this PAC. The PAC then turns around and gives the money to Donald Trump to defend himself from the 91 felony charges that he has going on against him. I'm not sure that that's legal. That doesn't sound to me like that's a legal thing for you to do.
But when you see that the majority of Republicans still back him, which is very frightening to me.
Right. Yeah.
Maybe in their minds it's like, hey, this better be legal because we got to keep our boy running. Whatever, by any means necessary.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Absolutely.
I mean, apologies to Malcolm X. I've said it before, but they are the party of by any means necessary.
What she said, Mr. Hare. Exactly.
Right.
What she said.
And let's be clear. The Republicans have been the party of by any means necessary at least since the Barry Goldwater election in 1964.
Yeah.
They may have been this the whole time, but I know since 1964, there is no stoop that they will not go lower than. There is no bottom, to the Republican Party.
I would say, though, that Watergate was a shining moment in American democracy because his own party went to Nixon and said, buddy, you got to give it up. So they've been Trump as a whole, he's killed our morals. He's on steroids.
But I think they've been apologizing ever since. Why did we do that? We should have just gone on ahead and been criminals, right?
Listen, this was a great show. And again, I thank you. I love you guys and keep on shining. And I'll be in touch with you all real soon. Thank you so much.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Khaki.
Appreciate you guys. Bye-bye.
Much love from all of us.
Khaki. Much love, Khaki.
And so, we're just trying to do responsible things. We just want to talk about things that need to be talked about from a perspective that we think you need to hear it. And we look for you to give your feedback. We don't have to be right. You can have whatever thought you want to have. We want to hear your thoughts. So we look forward to talking to y'all. Have a great weekend. We look forward to talking to you all on Monday here at Living for the People at 91.3 FM WBNY. Go Buffalo Bills.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
What you say?